Hey Reddit, throwaway account for obvious reasons. I, 28 am in a bit of a family crisis and honestly just need some outside perspective. Am I the asshole for refusing to give my newly purchased apartment to my pregnant sister? Let's call my sister Chloe, 30F, and my parents Mark, 60M, and Sarah, 58F. For context, Chloe and I have always had a complicated relationship. She's the older sister, the one who always seemed to get what she wanted, and honestly, there's a bit of a history of her expecting things from me. Last month, after years of saving and scrimping, I finally closed on a small but lovely one-bedroom apartment in a decent part of the city. It was a huge achievement for me. I've been renting a cramped studio for ages, and this felt like a real step towards independence. I was so excited to finally have my own space, decorate it how I wanted, and just generally have a place to call my own. I told my family about it over dinner a few days after getting the keys. Everyone seemed happy for me, offering congratulations and asking about the details. Then Chloe dropped the bomb. "Oh, that's wonderful, Liam," she said, a little too casually. "So, when do you think you'll be ready to move your stuff out?" I blinked. "Move my stuff out? Chloe, I just bought it. I'm moving in." She laughed, a short, dismissive sound. "Don't be silly. You're not actually going to live there, are you? With a baby coming?" Hold up. Rewind. What does my apartment have to do with your baby? Chloe is about 6 months pregnant with her first child. She lives with her husband, Daniel, 32M, in a perfectly nice 2-bedroom house about an hour outside the city. It's not huge, but it's certainly big enough for a baby. Chloe's smile faltered. "Well, Daniel and I have been talking, and with the baby on the way, we're going to need more space. Your new apartment would be perfect. It's in the city, close to my doctor, and it's brand new. It just makes sense." My jaw practically hit the floor. "It makes sense for you to just take my apartment?" That's when my parents chimed in. Mark, usually the more reserved one, said, "Now, Liam, Chloe has a point. A new baby is a big adjustment. It would be a huge help to them if they had a bit more room, especially closer to the city." Sarah nodded in agreement. "Think of your niece or nephew, darling. Wouldn't you want them to have the best start in life?" I was stunned. Of course, I want them to have the best start. But that doesn't mean I have to give up my apartment. I worked so hard for this. The conversation devolved quickly from there. Chloe accused me of being selfish and unsupportive. My parents echoed her sentiments, saying I wasn't being a good brother and that family should always come first. They kept emphasizing how temporary it would be, just until they could figure things out. But there was no concrete plan, no timeline, just an expectation that I would hand over my hard-earned property. I stood my ground, refusing to even consider it. This led to days of tense phone calls, guilt trips, and even a tearful visit from my mother. They painted me as the villain, the heartless brother who cared more about bricks and mortar than his own pregnant sister. Things escalated when Chloe started talking about how cramped their current house was and how stressful it would be to raise a baby there. She even implied that the stress might affect her pregnancy. My parents, of course, amplified this, making me feel like I was jeopardizing my unborn niece or nephew's well-being. Honestly, for a while, I started to doubt myself. Maybe I was being selfish? Maybe family should come before my own personal goals? But then I'd remember the years of sacrifice, the countless lunch breaks spent working extra hours, the delayed gratification of finally having something that was truly mine. And the idea of just handing it over felt completely wrong. Fast forward a few weeks, and the pressure hadn't let up. In fact, it intensified. One evening, I received a call from my father. He sounded different. Somber. "Liam," he said, his voice heavy. "We need to talk about the family home. Our family home is a decent-sized house that my parents own outright. It's where Chloe and I grew up, filled with memories, and honestly, a place I always thought would stay in the family." My dad continued, "Chloe and Daniel have been looking into their options, and with the rising cost of housing, moving to a bigger place is proving difficult. They've suggested a solution." My stomach dropped. I had a bad feeling about this. "They've suggested," he went on, "that we sell the family home. The proceeds could then be used to help them buy a larger house, and, well, we could figure out something for your mother and me." I was floored. Sell the family home? The place filled with our childhood memories? To fund Chloe and Daniel's desire for a bigger house? And what about Mom and you? I asked, my voice rising. Where would you live? My dad mumbled something about downsizing, about it being a sacrifice for the family. But the implication was clear, their comfort and security were secondary to Chloe's perceived needs. I flat out refused to agree to this. Absolutely not, I said firmly. The family home is not some piggy bank for Chloe and Daniel. And you and Mom shouldn't have to uproot your lives because they want a bigger house. This, as you can imagine, went down like a lead balloon. Chloe called me, screaming about how I was ruining her life and the baby's future. My parents were equally upset, accusing me of being uncooperative and putting my own selfish desires above the needs of the family. The situation remained at a stalemate for a few weeks, filled with icy silences and passive-aggressive comments. Then, a few days ago, I received a letter from a law firm. It stated that Chloe and Daniel, with the support of my parents, were seeking a legal partition sale of the family home. For those who don't know, a partition sale is a legal process where a co-owned property can be forced to be sold, and the proceeds divided among the owners. Apparently, because my parents technically co-own the house, and they are in agreement with Chloe and Daniel, they can pursue this. I am absolutely devastated. Not only is my sister and her husband trying to essentially bully me into giving up my apartment, but now they're trying to force the sale of our family home. The home where we spent our childhood, where countless family memories were made. And my parents are siding with them. I feel betrayed, angry, and honestly, completely lost. I never imagined my family would do something like this. All because I wouldn't hand over my newly purchased apartment. So, Reddit, I have to ask, am I the asshole here? Was I wrong to refuse to give Chloe my apartment? And what can I even do about the family home? I feel like my whole world is falling apart. Update 1, things are somehow getting worse. Hey everyone, thanks for the overwhelming support and advice on my last post. It honestly helped me feel less crazy and more validated in my feelings. As pretty much everyone suggested, I contacted a lawyer. My lawyer, let's call her Ms. Lee, was very direct and helpful. She confirmed that while my parents co-own the family home, I likely have a beneficial interest in it, especially if there's any history of discussions or understandings about its future within the family. She advised me to gather any relevant documents or communications. The worst part is the emotional toll this is taking. My parents have been calling nonstop, leaving guilt-tripping voicemails and sending manipulative texts. Chloe has blocked me on social media but has been reaching out through mutual friends, painting me as the villain who's tearing the family apart. The tension in the family has reached a boiling point. My aunt, Chloe's godmother, even called me to tell me how disappointed she was in my lack of generosity. It feels like the entire extended family has been briefed and is now against me. The legal process regarding the partition sale has officially begun. Ms. Lee is working on filing a response to try and prevent or at least delay the sale, arguing for my potential interest in the property and the emotional significance of the family home. To make matters even more infuriating, I found out through a cousin that Chloe and Daniel have already started looking at much larger, more expensive houses in the city. Apparently, they're factoring in the potential proceeds from the sale of our family home. The audacity is truly astounding. I feel incredibly isolated and hurt. The people who are supposed to love and support me are actively working against me. It's hard not to feel like I'm the one in the wrong sometimes, despite all your comments telling me otherwise. I'll keep you all updated as things progress. Ms. Lee said this could be a long and messy process. Wish me luck. Update 2, legal proceedings and a shocking discovery. Hey Reddit, another update. The legal battle over the family home is officially underway, and it's been emotionally draining and financially stressful. Ms. Lee has been fantastic, guiding me through the process and explaining everything clearly. We had our first court hearing a couple of weeks ago. It was incredibly tense. Chloe and Daniel were there with their lawyer, looking smug. My parents were also present, and seeing them side with Chloe was like a punch to the gut. Their lawyer argued that as the legal owners, my parents have the right to sell the property and that my sentimental attachment doesn't override their ownership rights. Ms. Lee countered by highlighting the long-standing family understanding that the house would remain within the family and the potential for me to have contributed to its upkeep over the years. I did help with some renovations a while back. The judge didn't make a ruling that day but scheduled another hearing for the presentation of more evidence. Ms. Lee is confident that we can at least delay the sale and potentially negotiate a settlement. However, the biggest shock came during the discovery phase of the legal proceedings. Ms. Lee advised me to request financial records related to the family home. What we uncovered was disturbing. It turns out that over the past few years, my parents had taken out several significant loans against the equity of the family home. The money, according to the bank records, was primarily used to fund Chloe and Daniel's various business ventures, none of which were particularly successful. There were also large sums transferred directly to Chloe and Daniel for things like down payments on cars and other personal expenses. It became horrifyingly clear that my parents had been financially supporting Chloe and Daniel for a long time, and the idea of selling the family home wasn't just about getting them a bigger house for the baby, it was also about bailing them out of their financial troubles. This revelation has completely changed the dynamic. Not only are they trying to take my apartment and sell the family home, but it now appears they've been mismanaging the family assets to support Chloe's lifestyle. I confronted my parents with this information, and their reaction was defensive and dismissive. They accused me of snooping and said it was none of my business how they chose to spend their money. Chloe, when confronted, simply said that her parents were generous and that I was being petty for bringing it up. Honestly, I feel a mix of anger and betrayal. My parents have put the family home at risk, potentially jeopardizing their own future, all to appease Chloe and Daniel. And now, I'm the bad guy for wanting to protect what's left. The next court hearing is scheduled for next month. Ms. Lee says this new information strengthens our case significantly. We can argue that the attempted sale is not just about providing for a grandchild but also about covering years of financial mismanagement. I'll keep you all posted. This is turning into a much bigger and uglier mess than I ever imagined. Final update: the bitter end. Hey Reddit, this is likely my final update on this saga. After months of legal battles and emotional turmoil, the situation has reached a conclusion, albeit a heartbreaking one. Despite Ms. Lee's best efforts and the evidence we presented regarding the financial mismanagement, the court ultimately ruled in favor of the partition sale of the family home. The judge acknowledged my emotional connection to the property but stated that my parents, as the legal owners, had the right to sell. The fact that they were doing so to support their daughter, however misguided, was not deemed sufficient grounds to prevent the sale. The auction took place last week. It was a surreal and devastating experience. Watching strangers walk through the house filled with so many memories felt like a violation. My parents were there, looking somber, but Chloe and Daniel were conspicuously absent. The house sold for a decent price, and after legal fees and outstanding debts were paid, including the loans my parents had taken out. The remaining proceeds were divided according to ownership. While I did receive a portion, it felt like blood money. The family is fractured beyond repair. I haven't spoken to Chloe or Daniel since the last court hearing. My relationship with my parents is strained, to say the least. There's a deep sense of betrayal and resentment on my part, and I think they feel a mixture of guilt and resentment towards me for causing trouble. As for my apartment, I am still living there. Chloe and Daniel did eventually move into a larger rental in the city, funded by a portion of the sale proceeds. They never apologized or acknowledged the distress they caused. This whole experience has been incredibly eye-opening and deeply painful. I've learned that family bonds aren't always as strong as they seem and that sometimes, you have to prioritize your own well-being, even if it means going against those closest to you. I want to thank everyone who offered support and advice throughout this ordeal. Your comments helped me feel less alone and validated my feelings during a very difficult time. As for the future, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life and healing from this experience. The family home is gone, and the family dynamic has irrevocably changed. It's a sad ending, but sometimes, the only way to move forward is to accept the reality, no matter how painful it may be. Thank you, Reddit, for listening.